There is a type of exhaustion that no sleep can cure, no vitamin can replenish, no coffee can disguise. It's that weight that makes you want to lie down all day, but that persists even after 10 hours in bed. It's not muscular fatigue. It's not lack of physical energy. It's something much deeper. It's the spiritual exhaustion of a soul that has lost contact with its original source of vitality. Many carry the weight of the world without realizing that the true burden is not on their shoulders, but in the disconnection between who they are and how they live. This state has a name in ancient traditions. Eastern masters called it tamas, the energy of inertia, of forced withdrawal, of lethargy that comes when we lose contact with our greater purpose. But here's what few understand. This irresistible desire to lie down may not be a problem. It may be a message. It may be the silent cry of consciousness asking you to stop running outward and finally look inward, because there are moments when the body becomes the temple of necessary retreat, not from weakness, but from wisdom. The question is not whether you should listen to this call, but whether you'll have the courage to understand what it's saying. The desire to lie down all day is born from a fundamental imbalance between action and introspection. You've spent so much time doing running, producing, solving, that you've completely forgotten how to be. Your mind has become a noisy marketplace where 1,000 voices shout. Simultaneously, worries, obligations, expectations, fears, and your soul, that silent essence that needs stillness to breathe, has been suffocated by the noise. The body, wise as it has always been, simply refuses to continue the unsustainable pace. It forces you to stop the only way it knows how, by taking away the will to get up. Think of the body as a faithful mirror of an exhausted mind and an overburdened heart. When you can no longer emotionally process everything you absorb from the world, when thoughts circulate without direction or purpose, when worries pile up without resolution, all that load needs to go somewhere, and it goes to the body. It manifests as heaviness in the legs, lack of will, a strange gravity that pulls you down. It's not a mystery. It's simple spiritual mechanics. Everything that is not processed by consciousness remains retained in physical form. There was a monk who received visitors from all over the world seeking healing for inexplicable fatigue. He didn't prescribe herbs, didn't recommend exercises, didn't give magic formulas. He simply asked, "When was the last time you cried? When was the last time you sat in absolute silence for an hour? When was the last time you allowed your thoughts to quiet without trying to control them?" Most couldn't answer, and he would then say, "Your body is tired because your soul is thirsty." And you keep offering it everything except what it really needs: stillness, presence, permission to simply exist without having to prove anything. Begin by recognizing that lying down excessively is not the problem, it's the symptom. The problem is in the disconnection. So when you feel that magnetic pull to stay in bed, do differently. Lie down, yes, but not to escape. Lie down to confront. Close your eyes and ask your body, "What are you trying to tell me?" Ask your soul, "What do you really need rest from, work or the internal war?" And then listen, not with the mind that analyzes, but with the heart that understands. Sometimes it's not the world that's heavy. It's just the soul that has forgotten how to breathe. The vital energy that yogis call prana is like a river flowing through you. When this river flows freely, you feel alive, awake, vibrant. But when it encounters obstacles, chronic worry, obsessive thoughts, repressed emotions, constant fear, the river begins to stagnate. Still water rots. And stagnant energy transforms into apathy, into lethargy, into that feeling that every simple movement requires Herculean effort. The law is clear. Energy in motion generates life. Stagnant energy generates slow death. What truly depletes your prana is not physical work, but incessant mental work without direction. It's thinking in circles, worrying about what you cannot control, reliving the past 1,000 times, rehearsing futures that will never arrive. Your mind, when ungoverned, functions like an engine in neutral, burning fuel without going anywhere. And all this energy expenditure happens in the backstage of consciousness, draining you silently while you wonder why you're always exhausted without having done anything special. A master compared the human mind to a house with all the faucets open. You complain that you're out of water, he said, but you don't realize you've left 1,000 faucets open. Empty thoughts, useless worries, ruminations about the past. Every unnecessary thought is a leak of vital energy. Close the faucets, not all at once, for that's impossible, but one at a time. Start with the loudest one, that worry that consumes your mind even when you should be resting. The practice begins with awareness of breathing, because breath is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between energy and matter. When you feel that paralyzing weight, lie down consciously. Place one hand on your chest, the other on your abdomen. Inhale slowly, counting to 4, imagining that you're pulling luminous energy from the earth itself. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6, releasing not just air, but all worry, all tension, all thought that no longer serves. Repeat for 5 minutes. What you're doing is not just relaxing, you're reconnecting the interrupted circuit between you and the infinite source of energy that has always been available. You don't need to create energy, you just need to stop blocking it. Here's the question that few have the courage to ask themselves. What in me is asking for pause, and what is asking for rebirth? Because these two movements happen simultaneously when you feel the desire to lie down all day. A part of you genuinely needs to die. Old thought patterns, outdated identities, versions of yourself that no longer fit the life you're living. And another part of you wants to be born, but can't, because you're too busy maintaining the facade of what you no longer are. The body rests, yes, but the soul doesn't just want to sleep. It wants to meditate, wants to cry the uncried tears, wants to understand the unsolved riddles, wants to integrate the experiences you lived but never processed. Every time you lie down without conscious purpose, escaping into sleep like someone fleeing a battle, your soul whispers louder and louder. Look inward. Stop running. Awaken me. But you prefer to call it laziness, lack of motivation, a bad phase. Any name will do, as long as you don't have to face the emptiness you feel. There was once a fisherman who every day cast his net into the sea and returned with abundant fish. Until one day, for no apparent reason, he began to return empty-handed. Desperate, he fished more hours, in different places, with new nets. Nothing worked. He consulted a wise man who told him, "You forgot to clean your net. It's so tangled with seaweed and remnants of the past that the fish can no longer enter. Stop fishing. Go to the beach, sit there and patiently undo each knot, remove each piece of seaweed, restore each thread. Only then return to the sea." The fisherman protested, "But that will take days." And the wise man replied, "Yes, and fishing with a broken net will take the rest of your life." Institute the ritual of the soul journal. When you feel that paralyzing weight, instead of simply giving into it or fighting against it, grab paper and pen. Write without filter, without correction, without fear of judgment. Why am I tired? What does my soul need rest from? What part of me is dying? What part wants to be born? Don't force answers. Just create the space for them to emerge. Sometimes, healing doesn't come from doing more, but from finally allowing what's inside to come to the surface. Your fatigue may be the last barricade between you and your own truth. Every serious spiritual tradition recognizes this state of necessary inner darkness. In Buddhism, they speak of the turbid mind, covered by fogs of unsatisfied desire, chronic aversion, and ignorance about one's own nature. This fog makes everything heavy, dense, difficult. Seeing through it requires stopping, sitting, observing patiently until it dissipates. It doesn't dissipate through force or haste, but through attentive and patient presence. In mystical Christianity, when Christ says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened," He's not offering external solutions or superficial comfort. He's offering surrender, that interior movement of releasing control, of admitting that you can no longer carry alone the weight you've accumulated. And here's what institutional religion often hides. True rest doesn't come from the pillow or from vacation. It comes from conscious surrender, from stopping fighting against life's current and finally allowing it to carry you. A disciple asked the Master, "Why do I feel so heavy, so without strength, even without having done anything difficult?" The Master picked up a stone and asked the disciple to hold it with his arm extended. Easy at first. After 1 minute, uncomfortable. After 5, unbearable. "Did the stone get heavier?" asked the Master. "No," replied the disciple. "Then why can't you hold it anymore?" "Because my arm got tired of sustaining the same weight without pause." The Master smiled. "Exactly. It's not the problems that tire you, it's holding them without ever putting them down. Learn to rest not by fleeing, but by releasing. Practice the sacred art of conscious surrender. Once a day, choose a specific time. It can be in the morning upon waking or at night before sleeping. Lie down comfortably. Place your palms facing upward in a gesture of openness and receptivity. Close your eyes. And mentally, one by one, surrender your burdens. I surrender this worry about money. I surrender this relationship conflict. I surrender this anxiety about the future. I surrender this regret from the past. You don't need to solve anything. Just put it down, like the stone. Feel the real physical relief when you stop sustaining invisible weights. This is the difference between fleeing while lying down and resting consciously. Transforming understanding into experience requires specific practice. When that magnetic desire to lie down comes, don't judge it as weakness, nor give in to it unconsciously. Use it as a portal. Lie down, but lie down ritually with sacred intention. This will not be escape sleep, it will be renewal rest. First movement, conscious breathing as anchor. Inhale deeply through your nose, counting to 4. Imagine you're inhaling pure light, golden, coming from the sun itself. This light enters and fills your lungs first, then spreads through your chest, descends to your abdomen, travels through arms and legs. Hold this light for 2 seconds, then exhale slowly through your mouth, counting to 6, visualizing that you're releasing dark smoke, all weight, all worry, all accumulated density. With each exhale, your body becomes lighter, cleaner, more transparent. Do this for 5 minutes, just this. Second movement, rest with divine purpose. Still lying down, imagine that your body is not in bed, but resting literally in the arms of the divine. Call it God, the universe, cosmic consciousness. Whatever name resonates with you. Feel yourself sustained, not by the mattress foam, but by an infinite loving presence that tells you, rest. I take care of everything now. You can let go. You are safe. Allow yourself to feel this safety. Let tears come if they want to come. This moment is not about controlling. It's about surrendering. Third movement, the affirmation that reorganizes energy. Still at rest, repeat mentally or in a low voice. With each breath, I awaken the energy of my soul. I am not fleeing. I am renewing. I am not lost. I am finding myself. My rest is not weakness. It is wisdom. Repeat until the words are no longer mechanical, but vibrate as recognized truth in every cell. Fourth movement, the small sacred challenge. After 10 to 15 minutes in this state of conscious rest, allow yourself to get up only to do one thing, a single action that feeds your soul, not your obligations. It can be listening to a mantra, looking at the sky for 3 minutes, writing a gratitude on paper, drinking a glass of water slowly with full attention, or simply standing and breathing at the window. One minimal action that tells the universe, I'm starting to move again, but this time with consciousness, not with compulsion. And here's the mystery that the hurried mind can never capture. The universe put you in forced rest so that you would finally stop fighting against life's natural flow. You spent so much time swimming against the current, trying to control the uncontrollable, force what doesn't want to happen, resist what's already happening, that your body simply said enough and took you out of the game, not as punishment, but as protection, as divine intervention disguised as lethargy. What you call laziness is often the thin veil of an awakening that's gestating, just as the caterpillar needs to dissolve completely inside the cocoon before emerging as a butterfly. You are in this process of dissolution. Your old patterns are dying. Your certainties are being questioned. Your identity is being remodeled. And all of this happens in the dark, in silence, in what seems like inactivity, but is, in truth, the deepest transformation happening where eyes cannot see. There was a powerful king who fell ill with a mysterious exhaustion. No doctor could cure him, until a wandering monk told him, "Majesty, your illness is not of the body, but of the soul. You've spent your entire life doing, conquering, commanding. Your soul has never had permission to simply be. And now it has rebelled. The only cure is to surrender to what you fear most, stillness." The king, desperate, accepted. He spent 3 months in a monastery, doing absolutely nothing but breathing, walking slowly, and sitting in silence. At first, it was torture, then revelation. He realized he had spent his entire life fleeing from himself through constant action. When he returned to the kingdom, he governed differently, with wisdom, not with compulsion. Recognize that when your mind is forcibly silenced, the spirit can finally speak. For years you lived with so much mental noise that the inner voice, subtle and silent, never had a chance to be heard. Now, in this rest that seems like a curse, the greatest blessing is being offered, space to hear the wisdom that has always been within you, patiently waiting for the external noise to cease. Don't waste this sacred moment fighting against it. Inhabit it. Extract from it the nectar of transformation that's being offered. Spiritual transformation that doesn't translate into everyday life is just beautiful philosophy without real power. Wisdom needs to descend from concept to practice, from ideal to daily life. So, how to live this understanding when you still have work, family, bills, responsibilities that don't stop just because you discovered you need more stillness. First, transform rest into sacred ritual, not guilty escape. Establish non-negotiable moments of conscious pause during the day, not when you collapse. Exhausted, but preventively, as spiritual maintenance. It can be 10 minutes in the morning before picking up your phone, 15 minutes in mid-afternoon, where you literally lie down and breathe, 5 minutes before sleeping in conscious rest. It's not about quantity, it's about quality of presence. You're telling your system, "I honor you, I hear you. You don't need to knock me down to get my attention." Second, create clear energetic boundaries. You cannot serve from a full heart if you're operating from an empty tank. Learn to say no, not as selfishness, but as sacred self-preservation. Every time you say yes when you should say no, you're stealing energy from your own soul to give to others. And then you wonder why you're exhausted. The practice, before accepting any commitment, new responsibility, or request for help, pause for 3 breaths. Ask your body, do I have real energy for this? Or am I saying yes out of guilt, fear of disappointing, need for approval? Honor the honest answer. Third, bring inner silence to the midst of outer noise. You don't need to go to a monastery in the Himalayas to find peace. You can find it washing dishes with full attention, driving without the radio on, having lunch without your phone, walking without headphones. Silence is not absence of sound, it's absence of mental noise. And you can cultivate it anywhere simply by bringing your attention completely to the present moment, to the task you're performing, without your mind being 20 steps ahead, planning, or 20 steps behind ruminating. Fourth, at work and in relationships, practice presence before action, before important meetings, difficult conversations, or moments that require clarity. take 3 deep conscious breaths. Anchor yourself in the now. You'll discover that you respond with much more wisdom when you act from a quiet center than when you react from an agitated mind. And at day's end, do a simple inventory. Did I live today on autopilot or from conscious presence? Where did I flee from myself? Where did I find myself? Without judgment, just observation. This honesty with yourself is the beginning of all real change. When you finally understand the desire to lie down, not as an enemy to be fought, but as a messenger to be heard, something profound transforms. The apathy that was once a prison becomes a portal. The rest that was escape becomes prayer. The silence that frightened becomes spontaneous meditation. Your body, once seen as a problem, reveals itself as a wise instrument of the spirit that's trying to guide you back home. This shift in perception is not intellectual, it's vibrational. You begin to feel different. The heaviness gradually dissolves, not because you forced it, but because you understood. Energy returns, but no longer as that nervous agitation that kept you in compulsive movement. It's serene, constant, rooted energy. You move when you need to move, rest when you need to rest, and both movement and rest come from inner wisdom, not from external pressure or mental demands. The soul finally awakens from the long, forced sleep, and the body, this temple that you neglected or even cursed for its fatigue, begins to follow, light, willing, connected again to the infinite source that was always feeding everything, but from which you had disconnected through excessive worry and compulsive thinking. You realize you were never truly without energy. You had just cut the wire that connected you to the unlimited supply. And then comes the most liberating realization. You understand that you don't need to conquer energy, don't need to seek it outside, don't need to prove anything to anyone. You just need to stop blocking it with mental resistance, chronic fear, and spiritual disconnection. The source has always been within. The river has always been flowing. You just needed to remove the stones you yourself had placed in the way. And when you remove those stones, one unnecessary thought at a time, one useless worry at a time, one resistance to what is at a time, life flows through you again with the force of 1,000 suns. Not because you became strong, but because you stopped fighting against your own nature. We've reached the end of this journey of understanding, but you're only at the beginning of your journey of application. Everything that's been shared here is just words pointing to an experience that only you can have. Real transformation happens when you close your eyes, lie down consciously for the first time, and allow your body to tell the truth your mind refused to hear. When you finally understand that it's not sleep that restores you, but the reunion with your divine self that happens when you stop fleeing from inner silence. The desire to lie down all day was never your enemy. It was always the gentle messenger of your own soul saying, "Stop, return, reconnect." You got lost in the world's rush and forgot who you really are. And now that you know, a sacred responsibility is born. Honor this call not with guilt or judgment, but with reverence and wisdom. Lie down when you need to, yes, but lie down to renew, not to flee. Rest to listen, not to avoid. And when you rise, rise differently, connected, conscious, alive. If these words touched something true in you, if you recognized at some point your own journey reflected here, then allow that recognition to transform into shared action. Leave your like as a way of saying, "Yes, I understood. Yes, this is true." Subscribe to continue receiving teachings that reconnect you with forgotten wisdom, with practices that transform everyday life into a spiritual path. Share this knowledge with someone who is exhausted without understanding why. That friend who lives tired despite sleeping enough. That relative who lost their will but doesn't know how to reconnect it. That stranger who might need to hear exactly this today. And in the comments, share your truth without fear. Have you felt this desire to lie down? Have you been able to distinguish escape from conscious rest? What practices have helped you reconnect with your vital energy? Your experience illuminates the path of others. Together, we create a current of awakening, each one reconnecting in their corner, each one remembering that soul fatigue has a cure. And this cure begins when we stop fighting and start listening. May the silent wisdom that dwells in every cell of your being fully awaken. May your rest transform into sacred renewal, your silence into deep meditation, your repose into a portal to higher dimensions of consciousness. May you learn to differentiate escape from surrender, laziness from necessary pause, giving up from wise surrender. May your body be honored as a living temple where the divine dwells and communicates constantly. May your vital energy flow freely, unobstructed by worry or fear, eternally connected to the infinite source of all life. And may you never again confuse the call of your soul with weakness of your character, because the greatest act of courage is to stop when everything pushes you to keep running, and the greatest act of wisdom is to rest when your spirit asks for silence.